Most welcome to Historiaspanarna, History Reconnaissance. This is Kobe, Japan, 1945-1946. The city burned down. We continue our series of Japan during and the years after World War II. This time we take a close look on Kobe and the effects of the US bomb campaign in 1945. And please, like, share and subscribe, it means a lot to us. Kobe was one of the most densely populated cities in Japan. Just before the first bombing of the city, it had 744,000 inhabitants, about 200,000 less than in 1940, mostly due to conscription and evacuation. Kobe was bombed 25 times throughout 1945, leaving 17,000 dead and more than 500,000 homeless. But first, let's go back 4 years to 1941 to see what life could look like in a city like Kobe before the nation was set on fire. 1946, most of this was gone. The port area with the Oriental Hotel and its many mercantile houses was mostly just burnt-out shells. The port of Kobe was the largest in Japan and the location for two of Japan's largest shipyards, Kawasaki and Mitsubishi, naval and merchant shipbuilders. Many types of ships were launched from these, carriers, submarines and escorts, sometimes towed there from other shipyards for completion. Submarines and the aircraft carriers Taiho and Ekoma and the seaplane carrier Akitoshima at Kawasaki and a large number of submarines at Mitsubishi. The days with the passenger ships in the port and the Kobe Port Festival was long gone. Beside the two shipyards there were large railway repair shops, and Mitsubishi Electric was also one of the dozen large plants that dominated industrial Kobe. The first air raid by the US 20th Air Force was a small, radar-directed trial raid with 98 B-29s aimed at the Kobe waterfront. 159 tons of incendiary bombs and 13 tons of high explosive was dropped, many of the bombs falling short in Osaka Bay. In August 1944, a firebreak program was started, creating empty spaces around key industries and to prevent the spread of fire between sections of the city. 21,000 buildings were removed in this program. It was far less than originally planned. The elevated railroad and the long narrow shape of the city was believed to give a high degree of protection. Some linear firebreaks were completed, and they might have had some value, but were useless against the size of attacks mounted against Kobe. What did work was that previously burned out areas sometimes acted as firebreaks. March 17, 1945, came the first really heavy raid on the Kobe urban area. 307 B-29 super fortresses rained down 2,300 tons of incendiary bombs. Countless structures were destroyed and damage to every major factory in the area, and a third of the population made homeless. not hit in the March raid, adding to severe damages caused by the February raid, when 3,000 small incendiaries had fallen within the plant boundaries. The plant force had been alerted and was ready with 4 modern fire trucks, 7 trailer pumps, chemical extinguishers, 6-inch water mains, 75 hydrants, booster pumps and water ponds. In spite of all this, the attack was overwhelming, and a large part of the factory was destroyed. Re-roofing and repairs after this were still ongoing when the March raid occurred. Vast areas of urban Kobe was laid waste. Still standing as an exclamation point to this destruction was the Kobe Tower in Minatogawa Park. Opened in 1924, it would remain there until 1968, when it was torn down. May 11, 1945, the Kawanishi aircraft plant in Kobe was attacked by 93 B-29s, dropping 459 tons of high explosive. Photo interpretation indicated 39% of the primary target destroyed. Although this was a so-called precision attack, nearby industry and residential areas were also hit. Kawanishi was best known for its float planes and flying boats. It also produced the N-1KJ land-based fighter, considered one of the finest in that category. June 5, 1945, saw another huge raid on the Kobe urban area. 480 B-29s, with 3,000 tons incendiary bombs and 71 tons high explosive. This attack, the largest against targets in the region, destroyed 50,000 buildings, and even more key industries were hit. Of the 874 B-29s participating in the 3 major raids against urban Kobe, 11 were lost. Here is a train on the main line running on the elevated part of tracks in the central district of Kobe. The trains were kept running through the war. Operations were usually restored after a couple of days, even after heavy rains. After the raids, the food problem was especially serious in Kobe. Over 12,000 tons of rice, the complete stock of Kobe's emergency supplies, were destroyed in the March and June attacks. After the June attack, food distribution was completely disorganized. Public offices and records were destroyed. Shipments to the port of Kobe was also gravely reduced after the mining of the Inland Sea in April 1945.
That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.